Good people, what's going on? Welcome to episode 63 of the Dawn Podcast. Tonight, got my guy Sincere, the rap snob, 1/4 of the rap roundtable, man. You guys obviously check them guys out, man. Dope ass platform, man. Killing it in New York, killing it hip hop. You know what I'm saying? I've been on there quite a few times, man. So we rock together. Yeah, and the good thing about hip hop is we can agree and disagree. They from the north and from the south. We have a good time, man. What's going on, Sincere?
I'm chilling, man. Just having a good time here. You know what I mean? About to chop it up with you. I mean, talk a little Esco. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man. So, yes, indeed, man. So this is going to be titled "The Unreleased King." You know what I'm saying? Nas Escobar. So Sincere, you know what? Years ago, people used to always hit me like, man, Tupac has the biggest and greatest unreleased discography in hip hop. And I used to always battle that Sincere code. And this is one of my reasons why. Because when I think of Nas unreleased discography, and we'll get into specifics, there were actual completed songs that should have made it to several of his albums that got shelved for whatever reason, whether that was Napster doing what it did to I Am back in 1999 or whatever the case may be. But with Pac, when Pac passed away, and we know Pac was notorious for working hard in the studio, but when these Machiavelli unreleased mixtapes and everything started hitting barbershops and everything, when Pac died, when you look back at some of his posthumous albums, those same lyrics was on there with different beats. So it was a lot of songs, but it wasn't as many as people thought, man. So when you think back on Pac unreleased, we're gonna start there first. What's your thoughts on Pac unreleased music?
I appreciate Pac's unreleased catalog. I know he was very prolific during that era between the album where he was in jail and then he came out of jail. He had All Eyes on Me and then Machiavelli. So between that era, you know what I mean, he was very prolific and he was in the studio a lot. So on that, from that end of it, I respect it, you know what I mean, because he was just a workhorse at the time. You know what I mean? He was just cranking out mad songs. You know what I mean? He was just, you know what I mean, chopping away at it. Like he was a workhorse. You know what I mean?
He did.
But to me, I think Nas's catalog is a little bit more extensive than Tupac's, you know what I mean? But I'm not even going to fault Tupac for that because, you know, what happened to him happened to him. You know what I mean? His life got cut short. Who knows what you know, the rest of his catalog, both released and unreleased, would have looked like if he was still around. But like, I think Tupac gets the credit because he's just that much more of a iconic figure than Nas is. You know what I mean? And so he's immediately going to get that credit. You know what I mean? He's that face, that iconic figure that has that unreleased catalog. You know what I mean?
You know what?
Like, the people that really like dig a little bit deeper, they'll find that Nas's catalog is just as deep as, if not deeper than Tupac's.
So I'm gonna say it's much deeper, but I'm gonna go back to your thing about icon status real fast. So when you think about like people who died young, you know, was it Janis Joplin, Kurt Cobain, you know what I'm saying, Jimi Hendrix, you know, Pac still, even though he was 25 and someone in that 27 club, you know what I'm saying, he's going to get, you know, even Buddy Holly and Richie Valens and all those guys, the Big Bubba, you know, the Big Bob, whatever, when the day that rock and roll died, when you die young, James Dean type of situation, you're going to be immortalized a little bit different. You know what I'm saying? So even with Pac music, don't get me wrong, from Me Against the World to All Eyes on Me and Machiavelli, that was an amazing stretch of three albums that if you're a hip hop fan or maybe even a Pac fan, you'll say he possibly has three classics in a row. You know what I'm saying? But now the studio work, we've seen some of the footage with him putting One Nation together with Greg Nice, you know, and Goody Mob and Buckshot and you know, Boot Camp and everything. So we know he worked very hard, and we heard all these unreleased songs. But like I said, when you hear a lot of those albums that came out that he passed away, a lot of those rhymes were regurgitated on several of those albums. So he has a lot of music. When I look at Nas, and if people who don't understand Nas' unreleased catalog, there's a CD that came out was a library online, The Diary of a Legend from Nas.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And the difference was Nas actually had songs. We started in the I Am era, I Am and the Nostradamus era. Guys, where do you think we get the lost tapes from? You know what I'm saying? So Sincere, let me ask you something.
Mm-hmm.
That narrative of 2000 until the Jay-Z battle, so like a year and a half that Nas fell off. What do you think about that narrative? And we're gonna get into the songs that was recorded during the time. Did you ever subscribe to that narrative that Nas fell off after I Am and Nostradamus?
So I'll be honest. As a Nas fan, I was a little shaken. You know what I mean? Like my faith in my guy was a little shaken around that time. I'm not even gonna lie. You know what I mean? Hove was scorching out here. He was dropping an album per year.
Yep.
You know what I mean? You know, he had the #1 album going into the new millennium. You know what I mean? That's a nice feather to have in your cap. And I'm gonna be honest. You know what I mean? Nostradamus at the time didn't hit the way it was supposed to hit. I could go back to it now and be like, all right, maybe we were expecting a lot more out of this album. And it wasn't really as bad as it felt in the moment. But like going by the momentum that we were feeling from Illmatic to It Was Written, I Am was already a little bit of a mixed bag. And then Nostradamus, it definitely felt like a decline. You know what I mean? Which is what made Stillmatic feel like such a you know, iconic comeback. And we all know the story, you know what I mean? We all know about how the original I Am was bootlegged to death.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It flooded the streets everywhere, all the bootleggers. It was on every carpet in the city. It was in every, you know, mom and pop shop in 125th and all that. And so you know, they had to go back to the drawing board and record new music, you know what I mean? And that's really the crux of it all. The fact that it was that the original I Am was so heavily bootlegged that they had to go back and re-record and take a new creative direction for I Am, and then kind of left scraps for Nostradamus by the time that came around.
And you know what?
Had that happened, it would have been a completely different story.
And that's the reason why, to this day, I get so upset with Columbia Records or whoever made these decisions with Nas. Because obviously, it wasn't Nas' fault that what happened on Napster. I remember walking out of the barbershop one day. This dude was like, "Yo, you got that new Nas?" I'm like, "Nas ain't out yet." He's like, "Yeah, I got this new Nas joint." So he gave me the bootleg, and it had the first track is Fetus on it. Then you got all these other tracks on there. You want to play rough, you know, even Find Your Wealth is on there. I mean, I'm like, oh, this is Nas' new joint. I'm like, this might be better than It Was Written. You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm thinking of myself. I'm like, this is about to be incredible. But then, you know, the original came out, a couple of songs on there I didn't like, of course, some Kissing and Dr. Knock Boots and all that shit on I Am. I didn't like that. And then Nostradamus come out, and I'm like, half of this joint I like, the other half you can scrap. But then I was like, but you know what? He's a victim of that early pirating, you know what I'm saying? So I was like, when people started saying at some point Nas fell off, I'm like, did you hear all those tracks that leaked? Nas is just as good as better than ever, but his record label really, to me, saying should have went on and dropped the original I Am double CD. You know what I'm saying? Like, he got bootleg. So what? We're gonna drop one album this year, and we're gonna drop this double CD. Man, did you ever imagine a double CD coming out? What was your thoughts on that?
I think had the original I Am drop in its true double CD form, it would have been up there. It would have been up there with Big. You know what I mean? It would have been up there with Pac. It would have been a different. It would have been a completely different trajectory. It would have been we'd be talking about history in a completely different way right now. You know what I mean? Because then you compare that to what Jay ended up doing on The Gift and the Curse. If I Am the double CD, the double album comes out the way it was supposed to be, Gift and the Curse isn't touching that, to me, at least. You know what I mean?
But then I guess the Gift and the Curse will sound different after that. If Jay-Z hears the original I Am, then
possibly, obviously, you know what I mean? Like if the events had occurred in a different way, you know what I mean, then the whole timeline would have been different.
Yeah, you know what's funny? If the original I Am drops the double CD, you might not have a Nas and Jay-Z battle, and you definitely don't have that one hot album every 10-year average narrative that he said, and a lot of fans went with. And I think that's because of Nostradamus. Because people gotta remember when I Am dropped. I mean, yeah, to some purists it might have been mixed, but the Source magazine still had a little bit of credibility at the time, and they got 4.5 mics. And you had Nas's Like is the damn first single, and you got Hate Me Now is a massive single. You know what I'm saying? Then you got, even with some people who like the Lee and Timberland, You Won't See Me Tonight and all that. So, you know, I Am sold like 3 million records almost. So it was really the Nostradamus, I think, when a Nas and Jay-Z battle with Memphis Bleak, and Nas had threw a few shots at each other. I think he said on the Nostradamus, you want a ball till you fall, I can help you with that. You want beef like a little slug melt in your hat. And I think he was responding back to Bleak. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So I think Jay-Z at that time, and I'll just be brief on that, it's an opening because, okay, Nostradamus out. I'm the hottest nigga right now. I know Nas was that dude, and at one point it was Nas, Pac, and Big. I can take this cat down now because I'm the one. You know what I'm saying? And I think that Jay-Z and hip-hop kind of looked at it like, okay, when Nostradamus is out, then at some point, months and months later, QB Finest come out, which I thought was dope. He put his whole hood on. But to some people, Nas was vulnerable at the time because of Nostradamus, but he hadn't really fallen off lyrically overall, even though that album wasn't that great, man. But it set him up to kind of get attacked with the damn Summer Jam. Yeah,
you know? That's true. And I think another thing about that era, because I mean we kind of get the sense from Nas that he's not somebody that's very fond of the industry. You know what I mean? He's not really, that's not really his character. It's not really his personality to be, making small talk and schmoozing with people and making all of these, all these relationships and stuff. And like, he's more of a, introverted kind of like to himself, sometimes a recluse. So like, I could see how, that occurrence with the I Am double CD being bootlegged the way that it was, and then the industry as a whole, him looking at it like, oh man, like I don't even really, like my whole heart isn't really in this industry shit, and now like my fucking album's being bootlegged to death, and the label's telling me that I have to like now go back and make some new music, and I have to be more radio friendly, and I have to, make joints for the ladies and stuff like that. Like when you listen to the original material for the I Am double album, it wasn't like he was really back in his bag. He was in his analytical bag. He was in his, you know what I mean, like in his sociological bag. He was really in his mental bag. You know what I mean? And then for that to happen to that album, I could see how he would be disillusioned at the time, with everything that's occurring and like how the industry's fucking cutthroat and who the fuck bootleg my shit. Like I don't even want to do this shit. Like I can see those feelings occurring within him.
Absolutely.
To the point where like it ended up affecting him. You know what I mean? It ended up affecting him with the material that he re-recorded. Ended up affecting him with what he put out on Nostradamus. You know what I mean? It took him a while to really bounce back from that and come back with Stillmatic.
He's addressed that some doing this Hit Boy run or whatever. You just gotta look at like you said, when you put your heart in something. Nas is possibly the most creative MC of all time. He's definitely one of them. So you think about the original I Am, when you have Fetus, you know what I'm saying? And it's kind of like him and Pharoah Monch has a whole lot of similarities being from Queens in terms of like, of course, Organized Confusion did Straight Bullet. Nas do I Gave You Power. Nas do Fetus. At some point, Organized Confusion does In Vitro. You know what I'm saying? Nas does Undying Love on I Am that was released. And then Pharoah Monch on Desire comes back and does the joint trilogy. You know what I'm saying? So they have all these similarities. But I say all that to say is Nas does those type of songs on I Am. He does Drunk by Myself, very introspective. During that same time, he records joints like You Want to Play Rough, My Worst Enemy. You know what I'm saying? Find Your Wealth that end up being on QB's Final. I mean, Nas is probably his most complete self, probably 1997 to 1999 recording probably 30 songs. You know what I'm saying? So like you said, I had a bootleg with like 16 songs on it. You know what I'm saying? And imagine losing that much. Like you said, you were forced to go back and say, man, you took an L. We need You Owe Me with Genuine. You know what I'm saying? We need these type of songs, right? Which is funny because people hated You Owe Me back then, but it's one of the songs he used and perform right now to this day, and women love it and popped in the clubs for the last 20 years. Absolutely. You know what I'm saying? But even on there, he has Last Words and stuff like Family with Mobb Deep. So there was brilliance sprinkled in Nostradamus, but overall, yes, it was underwhelming, man. But just thinking about being bootleg, and now I'm thinking about Nas could probably have 5 lost tapes, bro. So what was your thoughts when you first heard the first lost tapes? Which is like your initial thoughts when you went? I'm sure you probably got the original joint from the record store. What was your thoughts when you first?
I mean, so that first lost tapes in 2002, that's to me personally, you know what I mean? That is in my top 3 Nas albums.
Okay, so pause there. Let's stay there real quick. I'm curious now, Sam. What's your top 5 Nas albums? Because you're using Lost Tapes as an album right now.
Right. I'm absolutely counting it as an album. You know what I mean? Because like here's how I see it. If we were cheated out of the original I Am, then I'm looking at Lost Tapes as an album.
Okay, that's fair.
You know what I mean? Because that was all material that was supposed to be on an album anyway. So I'm counting it.
Okay.
So I'm gonna go Illmatic. It Was Written, Lost Tapes, and the way I'm feeling right now, I recently went back to Stillmatic. To be honest, I go back and forth between Stillmatic and Godson. I really do, because Stillmatic has higher highs, but Stillmatic has higher highs, but Godson I think is the more even across the board quality album, like as a playthrough. But the highs on Stillmatic are so high. I'm gonna go Stillmatic, and then I'm gonna fast forward to KD3. I'm gonna put KD3 in there.
So let me ask you a question then. So do you feel that in 2024 Godson is underrated in Nas catalog?
I do. In general, yes. I think Godson was always underrated. I think because.
But you're putting KD3 over Godson
right now. But you have to understand. You have to understand that like and I was just thinking about this yesterday because somebody had asked a question on Twitter like, "What's your favorite such and such song or your favorite such and such beat?" I don't remember who it was specifically. But the way I was thinking, I was like, it was Jay Dilla. Somebody had asked, what's your favorite Jay Dilla beat? Like the one favorite. And I'm like, if you're really a fan of somebody and you really recognize their brilliance, you can't pick just one. You know what I mean? And so with me, with Nas's discography, my top 5 can change between now and like a few months from now. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like if you ask me again in like 6 months, it'll change. I think I might have had a different top 5 when we talked about it on the round table. I might have had Godson up there at the time. I can't quite remember, but because I go back and forth between Stillmatic and Godson. I think KD3 deserves it. I think it deserves a position in the top 5. I think it's that good.
I think it was, that would really show Nas' overall discography, how incredible that would be to be this far in your career and be able to even have something that would go into your top 5. Because mine changed a lot too. I usually do it without Lost Tapes because I know you can look at it as an album. I try not to give the other albums a chance. You know what I'm saying? Because it would definitely be in the top 5. But without using Lost Tapes, obviously I'm gonna have Illmatic. It Was Written. I have probably Stillmatic. Life Is Good, and my whole thing with Life Is Good was when I look at Life Is Good in its total form with the well, not unreleased, but with the bonus disc, because the bonus tracks for
Right.
life, the bonus tracks for Life Is Good is absolutely incredible. Where's the Love, Trust? Then, he got Stay and Roses and Black Bond, and what Nas did on Life Is Good was I call Life Is Good Nas's Here My Dear by Marvin Gaye. You know what I'm saying? Because it was about his divorce basically, and about his life with Khalees during and post Khalees, kind of like Marvin Gaye was with Gordon's sister. You know what I'm saying? So I think that was a personal album, but he still was spitting venom on Locomotive, Accidental Murders, the Nasty Joint. I mean, if you go in right now and do and ride to Life Is Good, man, it's been in my top 5 Nas albums for a long time. So I battled with Life Is Good versus KD3. And I didn't want to be a prisoner of the moment with the KD3, but KD3 is an amazing album. You know what I'm saying? And it's the best one out of the 6 Hit Boy run to me personally. And I would have Magic One as the second one. But not mad at anyone who would have KD3 in the top 5. I'm tinkering right now. Like you said, if you ask me tomorrow, I might move Godson and put KD3 in there. You know what I'm saying? So,
and that's the thing when you have an artist that has exemplified so much brilliance over his career, it like those top 5s, they're fluid. You know what I mean? They're not gonna say, because like you revisit something tomorrow and then you're like, and suddenly like for instance, Life Is Good. I could probably like go back and forth between Life Is Good and KD3. If I listen to Life Is Good tomorrow and I'm like, oh shit, like this shit is really fucking good. And let's say that there's a certain bar or a song or a verse that hits me now a different way. And but my age now, you know what I mean, in my life as I'm living it now, it hits me different than it did, you know what I mean, 5 years ago or 10 years ago. You know what I mean? That's the thing with an artist.
And it's a very mature album.
You know what I mean? That's the thing with an artist like Nas. That's the thing with like all of the brilliant artists. You can't just like pin down one constant top 5 like that'll stick forever, because those things are very fluid, and it depends on, like, you know what I mean, how certain things hit you in the moment.
Man, I was so like proud of Nas, and it's funny he said that on his Hit Boy albums. Why can't you like basically be proud of Nas? But when I thought about the Lost Tapes 1, when I heard it, it was the perfect time, because you're talking about, after Stillmatic and his kind of like victory lap to a degree after Ether and You're the Man and all that. He's popping off on Jay, and then you know what? We gonna drop this lost tapes. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is what happened to me when you said one hot album ever hit 10-year average. Here's my rebuttal to that. This is the shit I was recording during that time when I got leaked.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? That's why I like when Nas said on that other joint about when he said Illmatic, but It Was Written was one of the most creative LPs ever to hit stores. I'm glad he said that, because that debunks again that one hot album every 10 years. Like, no, nigga, this is one of the most creative LPs ever to hit stores. And it's also the same album that the Outlaws talk about a couple of years ago that Pac was studying. It was written leading up to Machiavelli. This is what the Outlaws said. You know what I'm saying? So after a monumental album like It Was Written, I come back with this I Am stuff, and hey, it ain't my fault that I got leaked. So I never really fell off. That was always my thing with that. But now looking past Lost Tapes 1, I'm like, wow, that was great. We heard a lot of other songs that never made it to Lost in his albums, and then here comes the Lost Tapes 2. Saying, what was your thoughts when you heard that? Because before I'm gonna put what I would have done as Lost Tapes 2, but when I was leading up to it, and I heard that freestyle joint he put on IG and stuff like, I'm like, oh, this Lost Tapes 2 about to be incredible. It's gonna probably have all these songs on here that didn't make Lost Tapes 1, didn't make I Am, didn't make all these other Nas albums, and then we got what we got, man. So what was your thoughts when that Lost Tapes 2 came?
Lost Tapes 2 was a little disappointing, a little underwhelming, if I'm being honest, because and I did a whole series on Twitter last year, posting all of these different rare and unreleased Nas gems for an entire month. There was so much to work with And what ended up being on that project, it was, you know what I mean? It wasn't what I was expecting.
I didn't know where that was coming from. I didn't know when some of those tracks was recorded.
Well,
now,
yeah, it
yeah.
seems like those were not, you know what I mean? Those were not I am.
No,
those were
they were.
early
They were not.
mid 90s. It wasn't even like early 2000s. These were from like probably his later sessions, his like later aughts into the 2010s sessions.
Yeah.
It seemed that like it came from those sessions. There was there were some gems in there, but like
there were.
overall,
I was thinking that might have came from the Hip Hop Is Dead, Untitled, and some of those sessions, maybe. You know what I'm saying? Maybe some after that, because now my favorite song on that I still play is two songs. I play QB Politics that was produced by Pete Rock, right. And that was after Prodigy passed away. So we know that was done later after some of those albums. So QB Politics with Pete Rock gave me some hope. And then I listened to A Beautiful Life all the time to this day, because A Beautiful Life, it was definitely recorded during Life Is Good. It really should have been.
That was a no ID track. Absolutely, yeah.
Absolutely. It should have been on Life Is Good. I mean, it fit. He's talking about his life, Khalees, all his friends that died. It would have been perfect on Life Is Good. I'm not sure why I didn't make it.
Closer, yeah.
It'd have been a perfect closer. Now I don't know what you do with Bye Bye Baby, whatever, but I would have had Life Is Good. I mean, Beautiful Life on Life Is Good, man. But yeah, I mean, but the funny thing is you had like Kanye on there, you had Alchemist on there, you had RZA on there, you had all these big time producers on there. But Lost Tapes 2 to me just still left something to be desired.
Yeah, it definitely did. I mean, look, I will always commend Nas for taking risks and trying new things. But Ja Rule of rap,
yeah,
Ja Rule of rap is top three. I'm sorry, top three worst Nas songs of all time, man.
Yeah,
top three worst.
Oh yeah,
like
yeah. If you did a top five,
worst Nas songs,
it's there.
It's right there with Who Killed It off of Hip Hop.
Oh my God.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so
that and Big Girl Now, I didn't like that shit either. But so he has a couple of joints that.
Yeah. So but the thing is, Ja Rule Rap was the first. If I remember correctly, that was like the first song I heard off of Lost Tapes 2, right? And then I heard Lost Freestyle. And I think Lost Freestyle was cool. I liked it.
It was cool.
Static Selector. You know what I mean? It was cool. Nothing crazy. But Ja Rule Rap already got me like all the way off my move. You know what I mean?
Ja Rule Rap, I think he was trying to go for that bridging the gap with his father back years ago. I don't know if he was trying to go for that, some kind of. Yeah, I don't know.
It just did the execution. It just didn't land well. It wasn't well executed.
So he screwed up.
But he still, you know what I mean? You had Tenasia. I like Tenasia.
Yeah, that was RZA, wasn't it?
That was RZA, correct?
Yeah.
You had The Art of It, which was the other Pete Rock joint.
Bro, Pete Rock was that was good.
Yeah, the mixing was a little crazy. But what's funny is that like it wasn't well mixed, but I kind of like the fact that it wasn't well mixed because it made it sound like more organic and like more like mixtape-ish. So I like that. I'm honestly, I don't hear anybody ever talk about Queen's Wolf. To me, Queen's Wolf is a fucking fire song, bro.
It was an underrated joint on the album.
It like the way he equated, you know what I mean, living in Queens. In Queensbridge, and then like the nighttime comes and the moon comes out and you turn into a wolf, like a werewolf. That was a dope ass concept, bro.
Because his concepts are always top notch.
Yeah.
I mean, he's the concept king. You know what I'm saying? I mean, just it didn't surprise me, man, because I can't name 2 or 3 MCs in the history of hip hop more creative. And I know people will be like, "Well, you're being biased because Nas your favorite MC." No, it's not that. If you can tell me who has the list of more creative songs. I mean, even when we think about, even on Untitled, the nigga album, what are you talking about? But Project Roach, or then he rap like
Fried Chicken.
Then he got a little interlude rapping like a roach.
Listen, you catch me on a certain day, I might say Fried Chicken is a top 5, maybe top 10 Nas song. You know
That's
what I
a
mean?
dope. That's what Busta
Listen,
Rhymes, right?
with Busta Rhymes,
It's
like
nuts.
it you guys. This is what I'm saying. Like if you catch me on the right day and I just heard Fried Chicken, I'm like, yo, this song right here.
Then the Farrakhan
Forget
joint on
about
there, man. Louis Farrakhan, that joint on there I used to play all the time. But so I got something for you right here, man. I put my own version. Like, let's say we already got 2 lost tapes already. Lost tapes 3 by the Dome would be this right here.
it.
And this is what I want people. I want you to get your comments on. I want people, to comment on this. But so this is what I would do for a Lost Tapes 3. I'm going back in the cut to earlier Nas songs that was never on album. So I would start the album with Good Morning. You know what I'm saying? You remember that track Good Morning, of course.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I'm gonna go through and then we'll do the knowledge on them. I got the track number 2, Where Y'all At. You know what I'm saying? Which Nas went crazy on Where Y'all At. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Number 3, Talking New York. One of Nas' hardest songs, man. Like, Talking New York is nuts.
Look, man, if I could just say something real quick about Talking New York.
Facts. Go ahead.
The fact that it ended up where it ended up, which was just like a random Funk Master Flex project.
Oh my God.
And there was a very long time where I assumed it like remained like completely unreleased. You know what I mean?
Right.
But it landed on this random Funk Master Flex project. I forget the name of it, but it was tied into one of his car shows.
Yeah, I believe you're right.
He put a compilation out, that was tied into one of his infamous car shows, and that song ended up on there. And this is one of the things that, as a Nas fan, I'm like,
frustrating.
What are you doing, bro?
You don't give that up. You don't give that up.
You don't give that to. Nobody knows that project even exists, bro. Like, why would you give that to Flex just like that? It's crazy, man.
It's an album song, man. It's just, Nas, the beat was hard. Nas was spitting that flames on there. Yeah, it's crazy. So I also have number 4, Death Anniversary, man. And listen, with Death Anniversary, man, I listened to it again today. And that's when he's talking about what if he basically did it? This is ill will rhyming. You know what I'm saying? What if AZ didn't exist? What if me and the homie really cool? And the shit he said on Death Anniversary, man, because that rumor was there was gonna be a Death of Escobar album, and there was a version that was online. You know what I'm saying? And this song was on it, man. But Death Anniversary was another one. Then I got My Own Worst Enemy right after that. You know what I'm saying? I got Deja Vu. Now, anyone know me? No, I post Deja Vu all the time because it was recorded after it was recorded between Illmatic and it was written. You know what I'm saying? And obviously they used the first verse on Only Built for Cuban Links for, you know what I'm saying? And what's that? Verbal Intercourse. But the second 2 verses are just as potent.
Yeah.
And it's an incredible Nas song that I don't know what happened. I don't know why. Maybe it could have been on It Was Written. Maybe they feel it didn't fit on the theme of It Was Written because It Was Written kind of was a theme album almost to a degree.
I blame it on the label. I absolutely 100%
do something with it.
You know what I mean? Like the label was like, nah, this sounds too much like Illmatic. We're going in a
and it did have an Illmatic feel, but
yeah.
You got those kind of lyrics. It's not fair to me for the fans not to have heard that when it was released, man. That's just an amazing song, Deja Vu, man. And it's like it's this mythic beat to it. And when you see a lot of the so whoever put it on YouTube years ago, they used that picture of Nas, Jungle, and the homie that had passed away. It's in black and white. They're in Queensbridge, and it's just like this iconic picture of Nas they used for Deja Vu.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Ill Will. It was with Ill Will?
No, it's not Ill Will. It's I can't remember the dude's name right now, but Nas talked about him before. Kind of tall, light-skinned guy. After that, I got Surviving the Times, and I know that Surviving the Times ended up being on the greatest hits of Nas, but I don't care. It's going on my lost tapes. He got the joint Star Wars that, that's Nas in battle mode again. He took shots at Jay-Z again and Rockefeller at the end of Star Wars. He also talked about it's funny seeing him and Common, you know what I'm saying, doing that track together years ago. But he talked about even he said you got your positive shit like Common Sense, but even he had drama with the Don Mega Cube and all that. You were just talking about Star Wars, man. So I would have that on there. I got Wanna Play Rough on there because it was on the original I Am leak that came on Napster. I got Everyday Thing with Nature and Dr. Dre because I know that shit should have been on the Firm album, and I'm so pissed off on several songs that should have been on the Firm album. Everyday Thing was an amazing joint with Nas, Dr. Dre, and Nature. So I added that on there. I got the song Time on there, another track that should have been on the Firm album. Time is with AZ, Nature, Nas, and AZ end up using that verse at the beginning of Sosa. I mean, the beginning of Pieces of a Man album. You know, that's when they say, try to freeze time. That's why I used to face on my watch. You know what I'm saying? That drum was Time is Cold. Nature, man, is just, I could do a whole never sounded out of place on track with nobody, whether it was Cannabis, AZ, Nas, anyone.
If you remember how Nature ended up, being folded into the Firm is because there was beef with Mega and they needed a replacement. You know what I mean? I think Nature was. I mean, obviously Nature was nice and he could rap. I don't think he was really ever in that real mindset of like being an artist. You know what I mean? So like, I feel like when he was brought into the fold for the Firm, there was so many people surrounding. I mean, track masters, the label, Dre. You know what I mean? Like he was probably just being told what to do. Like, here, spit a verse on this song. You know what I mean? Do a hook on that song. Whatever. You know what I mean? Here's the studio session. Be here by this time. You know what I mean? Spit your verse, and then you can go home. But like once he was outside of that environment, once he was, that structure wasn't around him anymore. He probably didn't know, how to push himself as an artist. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because his debut album left a lot to be desired. But to your point, when they asked him to come to their studio, he spit flames. He could rap, but he wasn't necessarily a dope artist. But even though he had certain freestyles with Nas, he had even that song Sometimes I Wonder with Nas that was unreleased. It never made on anything. Nature could fucking rap. Now, to me, and I know some people might not like what I'm about to say, I think Nature can rap better than Cormega, but Cormega is a better MC than Mega. In Nature, in terms of song structure, making albums. Cormega is a dope artist to me. Like, I love the Testament. I love all his albums. His albums are dope. I mean, he doesn't have a whack album. To me, I think all his albums sound good. And he has great songs, but in terms of natural talent, I think that Nature was in pocket more than Mega was. It's just far as spitting bars. But I thought Mega made better music, obviously, and maybe he would have been better for the Firm if they could have worked out whatever they worked out. I think Mega addressed some of that junk on that rebuttal to Nas. He made a song, "Love In, Love Out," I believe, about Nas. Because I think Nas attacked him on Destroy and Rebuild because when him and Prodigy did that Thun and Kinko or whatever, I think they was going at Nas and Jay-Z on Thun and Kinko. That's what I always thought. So there was a rebuttal on that. But Nature, man, was just, man, he left a lot to be desired, man. I also have The Rise and Fall, one of my favorite Nas songs. And I tell people all the time, you want to hear Nas' story without any narratives, listen to The Rise and Fall. He told y'all after Illmatic at some point, he ended up hanging back out in Queensbridge again, hanging with niggas, with the gun again. You know what I'm saying? Like, everybody, his Lexus was being repoed. All this shit. He talked about all this same way. It matched up perfectly when Biggie and Bad Boy won all the fucking awards at the Source Awards, and Nas was in there like, yo, I had some barred gear on up in there. He lost all the awards in there to Biggie, and he knew that. And thank God for Steve Stout. We got to come different in this boom bap shit. I mean, we got to expand. We got to battle Biggie and Bad Boy. It was necessary. Even though he spit flames, it was written. He needed, it was written, or Nas was going to end up Buckshot OC somebody. That was going to happen. And people don't want to hear this now because Nas is a legend. He's my GOAT. But right after Illmatic, If it was written there, pop off, people don't understand. He could have been J. Rue the Damager. He could have been Buckshot. No diss to them guys, because Buckshot had a great career with boot camp and all that, but he wasn't going to be the golden child he's meant to be. If he doesn't have, if I rule the world, if he don't have a firm, if he don't blow up, Nas was meant to be a star. But that flamed out. He would have flamed out after Illmatic, man. But yeah, he talked about this on the Rise and Fall, man. But just some of the songs I mentioned so far. What's your thoughts on some of those?
Yeah, definitely some of the songs that's in there would be my picks for sure. Rise and Fall for sure is in there. Rise and Fall is probably my number one. Whew. That's going number one.
It's an amazing song, man.
Yeah.
The transition of a young fool broke still in he hung jewels or something. What he say? Man, he just oh man, he just went in, man. It sounded like some. It was just Nas going back.
The thing is, it's like it's the perfect. I mean, he has a lot of perfect examples, but it's one of the most perfect examples of Nas's ability to construct a narrative. You know what I mean? Yep. Like a narrative that's perfectly placed. Perfectly paced, and it's got just the right amount of details in it to where it's not weighed down by details, but it's like detailed enough to like where you can see it. You know what I mean? You see the picture that he's painting. Sometimes it's you know what I mean? Sometimes it's a story of fiction, like in Undying Love, but sometimes it's autobiographic, like in Rise and Fall. You know what I mean? But either way, he's able to, and this is where, you know what I mean? Like when we start getting into debates about, you know, Jay-Z versus Nas, you know what I mean? Jay-Z on the music side, on the club side, like he goes so many different places musically. You know what I mean? In terms of like different moods for different demographics and stuff like that. But when it comes to like the pen, like writing, like Nas writes like an author. You know what I mean? He writes like an author would write out a story, a book. You know what I mean? Like a very well put together, thought out book. And so that's always, you know what I mean? That's always been the thing that has that I've gravitated to when it comes to Nas. You know what I mean? It's his ability to like really paint pictures in a way that not too many people can do.
Yeah, man, that's absolute fact, man. What about, do you remember the joint My Will? I saw Alchemist do a YouTube video. I'm sure it's pretty old now, but I actually saw it today, ironically enough, just out the blue flipping YouTube. But he showed how he made My Will, and that's another song, Nas, a sleeper from Nas. You know what I'm saying? Do you remember that song, My Will?
I do vaguely. Hold on one second. Let me remind myself. Because there's so many.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
So My Will, also Taking in Blood 2000, Taking in Blood 2001 was my joint. You know what I'm saying? The joint from Street Fighter soundtrack 1-on-1 was cold. You know what I'm saying? I said sometimes I wonder with nature. Man, it just, and this goes back to my initial point when I was talking about, you know, how people look at Tupac unreleased music versus Nas unreleased music. These are full songs. These aren't verses just taken from the studio because somebody recorded a bunch of verses. Don't get me wrong, I know Tupac recorded some songs too, but a lot of verses that was getting reused over and over. These are original songs Nas made that could have been, Nas probably has 3 or 4 albums worth of unreleased music right now that they can release. He got that joint, The Scientist, that I think Just Blaze did or somebody. I mean, the list is so, if you put in Nas unreleased, the list is so long, most people wouldn't even believe it. And features that end up like Stay Chills with Lost Professor. I think they end up being on Lost Professor album. But I'm just saying, he has so many of them joints, even verses like he got 2 songs with the Dog Pound. You know what I'm saying? He got a song with Made Men, you know what I'm saying? Which, I mean, it's another whole thing with Benzino, how he gave Made Men classical limited edition 4.5 mics in the source, and that's when I stopped buying the shit. You know what I'm saying? But that's my whole point is now was even on there. You know what I'm saying? Like the unreleased verses and unreleased songs, I think personally it's safe to say that who has the more extensive. Now we got to start looking into, if you look at his release catalog and unreleased catalog, does anyone, for people to think Nas was lazy or disappeared, it sounds like to me, saying he might have the biggest catalog maybe on in hip hop, but one of them.
Well, thank you for making that point, because I wanted to make that point earlier and then I almost forgot about it. But yeah, like when it comes to like us as Nas fans talking to people who are not Nas fans, sometimes it's hard to like really help them see like what we see. You know what I mean? Because like as a Nas fan, I know all of the unreleased shit. You know what I mean? I know all the mixtape shit. I know all of the fucking freestyles. You know what I mean? Like the foundness and all that. You know what I mean? Like so I'm so vested in having followed his career that I know all of the unreleased shit. If you don't know the unreleased shit, you know what I mean? And not to say that like his release catalog leaves anything to be desired for. Like it's strong in and of itself to where you can make the claim that he's the GOAT. You know what I mean? But as a fan, as somebody that has followed the trajectory and has followed every time there was a new unreleased joint that popped up on a mixtape or on the internet somewhere, and like we heard it and we were like, bro, like this shit is incredible. How is this not on a project somewhere?
Oh my God, it happened 1,000 times.
Every time that we had that feeling, it just tacked on another notch to how we looked at Nas. You know what I mean? Like, and to the point where like you can't tell me nothing. You can't tell me that, because if you haven't heard The Rise and Fall, you can't tell me nothing. You know what I mean? If you haven't heard the original On the Real, you can't tell me nothing.
Right.
If you haven't heard, you know what I mean, Sirius with AZ, you can't tell me nothing.
Oh my goodness. Now look, that joint right there, I thought Sirius was going to be on Streets Disciple double CD because it started hitting mixtapes when Streets Disciple dropped. And I was like, why is that not on Streets Disciple?
Crazy. If you haven't heard Talk of New York, you can't tell me nothing. You know what I mean? Because there's so many heaters, so much like fire material that's just out there in the ether. No pun intended, but it's out there in the ether, and you know what I mean? Like it's not on DSPs. You're not going to find it easily unless you know exactly what you're looking for. You know what I mean? And so if you're not, hey, back to doing the knowledge. If you haven't done the knowledge on Nas like the way that we have, you just simply not going to know. And so like, I don't blame you to a certain extent. I don't blame you if you don't, you know what I mean? If you don't have Nas in your top whatever. But like, those of us that know what's up, like you can't touch Nas. You can't.
Yeah. So before I let you go, man, looking at 2024 now, we know this Hit Boy run was legendary. I know you guys addressed it.
Hold on. Can I put my lost tapes, my fantasy lost tapes 3?
Oh man, absolutely. Please go.
Please. I gotta do that. So number one, and let me try to keep track of this on my side. The Rise and Fall.
Yeah.
Is my top pick. Second, Deja Vu, right? So I'm right there with you on that. Third, I'm gonna go, and at this point, it's not really in order, but I'm gonna go. I feel like Understanding should be in there.
That's a good one, man.
I feel like Understanding. I'm staying early. I'm staying 90s still.
That's a good one.
On the Real, the original On the Real, not the joint that he re-recorded for what was that? That was
he recorded again with Marlon Marr, didn't he?
That was for the Godson bonus, right?
Yeah, because he did a new lyrics to a new verse.
Right. So I want the original joint.
You talking about the early 90s joint.
KL, Kamikaze, all that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I want La Familia on there. La Familia gotta go on.
That should have been on the Firm album.
That absolutely should have been on the Firm album. Don't know what happened there. Another one that should have been on the Firm album, The Full Desperados.
Ah,
Desperados. So the full Desperados had all four of the front members plus Cannabis. You know what I mean? It was 5 full verses. The one that ended up on the album didn't have Nas on it.
that
I
didn't
forgot
have
who else
Nas.
got. I forgot. I think Nas and Fox was cut. I think that's what it was.
Yeah, but I wonder what happened with that. I wonder what the purpose was of that. Don't get me wrong, the album version was in AZ, Cannabis, and Damn Nature got off. All three versions was incredible.
Yeah, that was all fine. But I think they thought again, like in terms of marketing, in terms of making it radio friendly, they had to add a hook in there somewhere.
Hey, yo, is that when Cannabis said, "Fuck my record label, I appear courtesy of
myself."
Yeah.
You know, and he does Thresholds for Pain. I walk on the sun barefoot looking for.
But you know what? Nature got he said what the cause of this shit? More statistics deeper than the laws of physics. Man, he just Malibu Sam with crazy pictures.
Nature was ill.
AZ got off too though.
But you know what I mean? I guess they thought five straight verses with no hook.
Yeah, that better been too much.
They needed to cut it down a bit. You know what I mean? To make it more palatable. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Let's see. Where am I going next? Good Morning should be in there.
Yeah.
For sure. I love that one. Serious with AZ got to be in there. You know what? You mentioned Stay Chisel earlier. The full Stay Chisel, where it's all 3 Nas verses.
Yep.
That's got to be in there. That's got to be in there.
I remember that version. He got off on that version.
Yeah. I'm throwing in Queen Style. Queen Style is what was it? It was him and Nori. Him and Nori.
It was him and Nori.
Yeah, it was him and Nori, and then it ended up becoming a Nature song. Like they gave it to Nature. Nature recorded two verses on it, and it went on his project. And I think, when Nori had Nature on Drink Champs, they went into the story of how that song came about and how it ended up going from being Queen Style to Triple Threat, which was Nature's song. But Queen Style is crazy because it was like it was Nori and Nas going back to back, and they both had 3 verses. Yeah, like you know what I mean. Like Nas was talking that Malachi York talk, like it was crazy.
Yeah, he was spitting some craziness, and even Nori sounded dope on that joint.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So how many am I up to? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I got 2 more to pick. This is crazy because there's so many I could pick from. You know what? I'm gonna, even though I know it ended up on that Funkmaster Flex project, I'm not gonna count that. Talk of New York gotta be in there.
It's just too dope not to be.
It's too dope not to be. And I'm gonna go with High. High. Yeah, I love that.
Okay. What about it's the song You Think You Know Me?
You think you You think you know me?
Because it's the same beat as he has 2 songs with the same beat.
Oh, I'm sorry. Hardest thing to do is Stay Alive and You Don't Know Me.
You don't know me.
You don't know me. That's the one.
You don't know, but that's exactly what it is, man. You don't know
what?
me.
One of those got to go on there too.
Tales from the Hood was a pretty decent
Tales from the Hood, yeah. Hardest thing to do is Stay Alive. I would probably go with Hardest thing to do is Stay Alive.
Hardest thing to do is Stay Alive, man. I love that's a good one. I want to say that was on my leaked I Am CD.
You know what? I might take Desperados 2 out just because I mean it's 5 motherfuckers on there. And I already got La Familia in there. So yeah, I'm gonna replace that with Hardest Thing to Do.
Yeah, that joint is hard, man. Hard thing to do is Stay Alive. Yeah, that joint goes real. But it's just so many, man. Like
there's so many to choose from, man. And again, like I was saying earlier, if we're listing out these songs, you know what I mean? If we're naming these songs and you don't know what the fuck we're talking about, then you don't know the extent of Nas's excellence.
Life is like a dice game.
You know what I mean? You maybe know 90%. You don't know the full 100%, man. Because like these unreleased joints, it's a crime that they're not on any project.
I wish he released all this shit, man. What about when thugs die? Life is like a dice game. That's doing the Illmatic days right there.
Life is like a dice game. I didn't even put that on there. He put out a version of it. Did you peep that? Like, I think
I didn't love it.
That's 2 years ago or something like that.
Yeah, that was with Freddie Gibbs and them. Yeah,
and that the kid Corday.
Yeah,
but the original, I mean, it doesn't compare with the original, man.
Yeah, man. That just goes to show, man, like the amount of songs, man, the amount of work that Nas put in, man. And now we're looking at what I was gonna say, 2024, the Primo album coming, and then after that, how many songs not gonna make it on this Primo album that we might hear in a couple of years now? We'll say 2 or 3 of them joints should have been on there because they better than track 4, 5, and 6. I mean, you know what I mean? That's just how Nas is.
Yeah, for sure.
You know what I'm saying? It's just nuts, man. You know what I'm saying, man? But well, look, man, I appreciate, man, you taking the time, man, to chop it up with me, man. What you guys got going on with the Rap Roundtable, man? Anything coming up new, man? Any new shows?
I mean, we just dropped in studio episode 103. You know what I mean? We got over 100 of them shits out there. You know what I mean? That we recorded in studio. We just chopped it up the other day about this Drake mega release of content. He just did a huge content dump on the internet, 100 gigs upon your head top. So we chopped it up about that, like, how we felt about it. You know what I mean? What does it mean? Like, what's the next move going forward? You know what I mean? And we, every Monday we do the Monday Night Live. So look out for that coming up. You know what I mean? And we rolling, man. We out here.
That's what it is, man. Respect to the Rap Roundtable and all real hip hop heads out here, man, who just sharing, man, our thoughts, man, and perspectives on this culture that we love so much, man. Episode 63, man. We out. Peace.
Peace.